Here in this video we will dive into 10 things in the series Monarch: The Legacy of Monsters that is ruining or wrecking the Monsterverse lore. First of all, we're not hating. We are intimate fans of the Godzilla universe of Legendary, which is why we have to be completely honest. And we have to stick it up to the lazy writers of the show. Otherwise, what is the point of the comics and novelizations, the things that we have spent our money on, if everything in them are considered non-canon? This isn't the MCU, for Pete's sake. There is no multiverse here. So these 10 things would be big lore-changing events. We can ignore some of the people's actions or added sequences like Randa being chased by the mother longlegs in Skull Island, as these things could be easily fitted into the timeline without changing the whole overarching narrative. So let's get to it. Number 1. They deleted the Shinomura from the timeline and changed 1954. To begin with, this is the frickin' awakening of Godzilla, whereby the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki brought back the long-dormant titan to the world, as well as activating the ancient Shinomura from its death-like state. Okay, so awakening might create problems as for the origin story of the titans and their hibernation since the Permian period, which would be counterintuitive with the ever-evolving story of the Hollow Earth and the ancient human civilizations as seen in the movies. But this could have easily been fixed, you know. Okay, let's put that origin story out, but then they could add a few lines regarding the Shinomura's existence, and that it was in fact from the Hollow Earth, or also that it might have been present with Godzilla in the Bikini Atolls, which would have in fact created more urgency for the government funding for Monarch, since there would be 2 titans actually spotted in the Castle Bravo event in 1954, and not just one, meaning there are more. Number 2, so continuing with 1954, the Godzilla scene there in that year was too small so as to put up a winning fight against Ghidorah in the ancient past, something that actually happened. See, we estimated Godzilla's size there in the series. During the Bikini Atoll nuclear bomb explosion, we found out that Godzilla there was only around 300 feet or 91 meters, give or take a few meters. This would mean that Godzilla would be battling a Ghidorah that is 158.8 meters or 521 feet tall, which would give a massive disadvantage to the Big G here, since even in his KOTM form, which was around 120 meters or 393 feet in size, he was barely able to physically overpower the 3-headed dragon. Imagine being 30 meters or 100 feet shorter, and with a not so powerful atomic breath. It's just ridiculous. Number 3, the Axis Mundi is complicating the Hollow Earth map and entry points. Okay, so where to begin? The Hollow Earth map that Walter Simmons showed to Nathan Lynn during GVK didn't show any large space in between the surface and the Hollow Earth, despite Apex having full knowledge about its existence as of the end of the series. The new entry points all over the world should have logically led to a place that is at least as large as the Hollow Earth space, but there isn't anything of that sort. And most of all, going back to 1962 in the series, the fact that Project Hourglass was led by Randa, and this entails a journey to the underground realm, just fucks everything up. Why would Randa be researching cracks in the ground on Skull Island for a theory in 1973 when he already had proof of the existence of such things in 1959 in Kazakhstan and 1962 in Kansas in the USA? Number 4, the Muto Prime might also not be canon anymore, so there was no mention about the Queen of the Mutos in the series, even though she was one of the most powerful titans to have ever existed, to have hunted and killed the Gojira species since the ancient times. Also given that she was actually the one that destroyed Godzilla's dorsal plates in Aftershock and forced him to grow new ones that are bigger, with a more capacity to deal with EMP pulses or sonic attacks of their species. This should at least be mentioned. So Godzilla was found in Algeria in 2015, a year after the San Francisco battle, and nothing is stated about his whereabouts between those times, which is odd since Emma Russell and a lot of Monarch operatives tracked him all over the world from the Pacific to France and ending in Montana, USA. This is the biggest no-no for the series in my opinion. I could live with the Shinomura being out of the picture, but no, not Prime, no. Number 5, the whole backstory of Ishiro Serizawa is ruined. You know, I'm just saying. The main human character of the first 2 Godzilla movies of this universe has to have a different backstory now, which would further confuse everything. The guy who said, "Let them fight," and also sacrificed his life to revive Godzilla did get a mention in the series, but how he came to be a part of Monarch is all tied to the Shinomura and the Godzilla Awakening events, as it was his father who witnessed the Titans in Japan for the first time ever and became the founding member of Monarch, who then eventually divulged these secrets to his son Ishiro, and then when A.G. Serizawa died, this would motivate Ishiro Serizawa to join up with the elusive organization to study and monitor the Titans. Number 6. Apex in Skull Island is just freaking confusing. What are they doing there, and how did they get clearance to be in the island? The place where only Monarch was supposed to have facilities or outposts to monitor the giant creatures and monsters of the island. There also seems to be a huge storm over the island, which I am hoping isn't the perpetual one that was introduced in the events of Kingdom Come by Camazots. Otherwise, this is just hopeless. It will just ruin the timeline of KOTM and Kingdom Come and then GVK and the rest, since the scene there in the series was in 2017, while Ghidorah awakened the Titans in 2019, and that Camazots attracted the remnants of Monster Zero's storm over the island in 2021, 4 years later, so that's that. Now coming to number 7, the whole origin story of Monarch and their struggle for funding and existence in the early years up to 1973 is now void. As per the series, the organization began in 1952 with Lee Shaw, Bill Randa and Keiko as the founders, but the actual lore behind the series states that Monarch was founded in secrecy in around the late 1940s as a Japanese/American quasi-governmental coalition in order to study and hunt massive unidentified terrestrial organisms. It was actually President Truman who established a research team called Monarch Unit with A.G. Serizawa in it as the actual founders. Number 8. The USS Lawton Incident Paradox. Yeah, so this was an incident that Bill Randa was involved in. This incident took place in the ocean near Pearl Harbor in 1943 and was explicitly stated by Bill Randa in 1973 that there were claw marks everywhere, and there is also a photo of it from one of the opening scenes of one of the Monsterverse movies. But here in this series, the ship was in the middle of the Philippines, dragged inland by the Iron Dragon. How a Titan that was at that time in 1952 was barely as big as the Skull Devil, how would it drag an entire ship, a destroyer, inside an island? Good luck making sense of this one. Maybe it went to the Axis Mundi and maybe came back up with it. Who knows? You know, Beyond Logic was the last episode's name, and it should have been the name of the entire series. Number 9, let's take a look at the temporal or time anomaly in the Axis Mundi. Okay, so we're just getting crazy and crazy as it goes, right? It's one day in the Axis Mundi that is equivalent to 1 year on the surface. Seems lazy, but okay. But what about the Hollow Earth? Did the characters following Kong and GVK actually time travel, and did Godzilla's atomic breath in Hong Kong last days on the surface when only it was just a few seconds of its destruction as was seen in the throne room of the Kongs? How would this equate? Let's say Kong and the others traveled half a day in the Hollow Earth. Did Godzilla take half a year to reach Hong Kong? You know, to battle Kong in Hong Kong? Wild, right? Just wild. And lastly, number 10. Titans aren't about size. They're about radiation or something else. I'll just leave this here as an ominous point. Titans, and yeah, before 2019, they were called Mutos, massive unidentified terrestrial organisms, not Titans. Okay, so now we have come to the end of this video, this rant of mine regarding the Monsterverse and Monarch, the Legacy of Monsters, which I'm now considering isn't a part of the Monsterverse, it's just a spoof, like, you know, scary movies. Now if you like this video, then watch this other one as well, and do check out our channel as we might have other Monsterverse content that you might like to see. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, fam.